So I decided to do a second recording of while I'm driving in the car, and just to reassure all of you, I am not like holding a device while I record, so this is safe. I'm basically just talking out loud to myself, and that's probably why the sound is not the best quality, but it's still, capturing my thoughts, and that's what I'm putting value in right now. So what I was thinking about this morning, and actually it's 7:11 on a Saturday morning, and today I am moving. And I am moving from a little apartment to a house with another mama and her kids, and it's an interesting dynamic and situation that I'm not going to go too much into because, well, now my life entails someone else's life, so I'm not going to just be like, oh, so this is a situation. And anyways, I'm about to embark in a new adventure, a new kind of beginning, and I'm on my way to pick up my brother, who I just called this morning. Poor guy. I just called him this morning to see if he could help me move. And this is something that absolutely drives people crazy in my life, people that know me, is I tend to be really, really last minute. And planning, I have an aversion to planning. I don't know what it is. I haven't figured it out. I figured out a couple years ago that I literally have a paranoia about planning. And I know, I realized after, sort of digging into it a little bit and looking into myself, that the reason why is not because I don't like things to be planned and organized. It's because growing up, and, I'm going into the whole, psychology of it right now. It's just because so many things have been out of my control throughout my life, that there were many, many times where if and when, the rare times that I did actually plan, then things really didn't go as planned. And so my life eventually became this sort of chances are things weren't going to go as planned. So I kind of adjusted my mentality to plan for things not going to plan. Therefore, that makes me somebody who has an aversion to plans. But, even though sometimes it's a little bit chaotic, at the same time, you won't see me flinch when everything changes at the last minute. I'm just literally like that girl who can just go with the flow and just adjust easily. And I guess that comes in handy when you're a photographer, because if you're shooting a wedding and you were planning on going to a certain location, and suddenly you're bright, sunny, or whatever, I'm looking for my words. Whatever you were planning in terms of weather doesn't pan out, you're not panicking. You're just this is fine, we'll just go with the flow. And it comes in really handy when you're a photographer. And also when you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur, and a lot of things happen in business that sometimes are out of your control, and that you just have to deal with last minute changes. And so, it's become a strength, but not gonna lie, life is so much better for me when I plan. And the way that I'm fixing this is by doing a bullet journal. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of a bullet journal, but essentially it's like a journal, and instead of lines, it's just a bunch of dots, and it's super easy to draw diagrams and graphs and do lists and be creative. And so I have found this passion in putting lists and being creative and recording and analyzing my days through doing bullet journals. And that is basically the cure to my Achilles heels when it comes to planning, is I just do bullet journaling. And I've kind of made like a couple rules for my life that I don't always follow, I have to admit. But one of them is that I need to journal. I have to journal every day. Because if I journal and if I plan, I will do it. So it's like my guaranteeing to get shit done is if I bullet journal. All this to say that I'm moving today and I didn't plan out the move super well. I have this thing where I kind of avoid the unpleasant. So moving is not, well, I mean, it could be fun, but it's, apparently moving is one of the most stressful things that a person can go through in their life. I don't really feel that stressed out, probably because I've been avoidant about it. But I had my brother-in-law who was totally ready to help me, and he was like, do you have anyone to help me? And I'm like, I'm a jerk because no, I don't. And so that's why I called my brother this morning at my mother's phone call. My mom called me and she said, Nadine, I think you should get somebody to help your brother-in-law. And she's totally right, of course. And I needed someone to give me that little push. So I called my brother, and he was still in bed, but he is such an angel that he said he would help. So, of course, he checked with his wife, which I should be grateful to her as well. I am grateful to her. I'm stealing her husband on a Saturday morning on a long weekend to do some tedious stuff. So I'm on my way to go pick up my brother, and I decided this would be a good time to do a little podcast. And I mean, I didn't plan, I really honestly, speaking of planning, I didn't plan on doing a podcast, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to do this thing where I drive and I talk and see where it goes. Now, I just remembered what I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about the fact that I don't do scripted content for the most part. I'll do scripted content for my clients because not everybody has that calling. Let's call it a calling. The reason why I do unscripted content, which means that you're going to get the pauses in between, you're going to get the yawns, you're going to get me pausing to think, you're going to get literally my thoughts out loud unscripted. And the reason why I don't take the time to go through and edit and everything is not because I don't think you guys deserve some good quality content. It's because I know myself enough to know that if I had to start doing that to everything, I would only release a very tiny percentage of my content to the world. And therefore, I release as much as I can in good faith that someone out there can find some value in it. And for the people that don't find value in the unscripted content, it just simply means that my content is not for them. There's a reason why, let's say, when you watch television or Netflix or you go on YouTube, there's a reason why there's like a million different channels to choose from. It's because not everybody likes every channel. So I'm for a very specific crowd of listeners, the ones that don't mind the glitches, the ones that, like, it doesn't bother. There's a lot of people that it's going to totally drive them crazy. Like the fact that I go off on my thoughts all the time and that I don't, but they're not the people that are going to be listening, and they're not my audience, so I'm not concerned too much about pleasing them or pleasing anyone for that matter. I'm doing this for me and for you. I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't do this if I didn't think that somehow, somewhere out there, someone could possibly benefit from this. But that's why I do the unscripted, is because I don't want to get backlogged in all my content, and then eventually just not even put anything out there because I'm too concerned about fixing all the glitches. And I figure the more I can give, the better I feel. But that's not to say that I don't think it's important to put out some value when you put out some content. And I think that I'm going to conclude this podcast at that. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you didn't, I just might not be your channel.